This video is going to be a film study look at Zach Charbonnet's contributions in the Seattle Seahawks 24-3 win over the Dolphins at home in Week 3. The second-year running back put up over 100 total yards of offense, I believe, for the first time in his NFL career. Scored 2 touchdowns, had 91 rushing yards, averaged over 5 yards per carry, which was a good sign for the Seahawks offense and their offensive line, even though they had issues that I'll get to in a moment. Coming into the game, Charbonnet had 50 yards rushing on 22 carries. After a rookie season where he put up 462 yards rushing, 200 yards receiving. So an impressive rookie season, especially because generally he's playing behind Kenneth Walker III, although there were certainly games where they shared carries, shared the load. The offensive line issues that at this point I think are well documented by many people. I haven't touched on a ton other than my Week 1 reaction video. 10 penalties so far on the offensive line. 6, I believe, on the right guard. I could be wrong there. Maybe it's only 5. Another penalty declined, so it could be 11. On Sunday against the Dolphins, 5 penalties by the offensive line. I believe 3 holding calls, 2 false starts. Overall, for the entire team, 11 penalties called on Sunday. So Charbonnet had to overcome some offensive line issues, if you ask me. The run game needs to be more consistent. They need to be in Week 1 with Kenneth Walker III. There, of course, he ran for just over 100 yards, so they generated 146 as a team. But since he's been hurt, Charbonnet's taken the most of the carries. He also had, again, ironically, he also had 2 tackles on Sunday against the Dolphins on the 2 interceptions thrown by Geno Smith. One of which I think Geno's got to get rid of the ball a lot quicker. But let's get to the film on Charbonnet and focus on the plays that he made. He certainly took advantage of the late game drive to salt away the game and come up with a final score of 24-3. I think he totaled 34 rushing yards on the final drive, but he did have an impact before then. This would be, I guess, his most impactful play, the touchdown run to, like I said, put him up 24-3. A downhill run concept. Look, he's got great cut ability, I think. He's very good at bouncing stuff. Maybe, look, this is coming from, I'm a Ravens fan and Ravens content creator, so preparing for that game last year in Baltimore, Week 9, having scouted Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker III, I noticed that he did like to bounce stuff at times, but against the Dolphins, it actually was to his benefit, to his team's benefit. That's the 10-yard touchdown run, a cutback kind of squirting through the right side of the offensive line, between the right guard and the right tackle, like I said, to account for the final margin. We'll rewind here and go through possession by possession. I think I've got about 11 plays queued up. This is the first possession. It's a trips formation out of 11 personnel, 1st and 10. Ball's on the right hash, and it's going to be a short run by Charbonnet downhill split zone. You just don't see as much push with the interior offensive line at times so far in 2024. I think coming up again on this game against the Lions, the running game is going to be a big factor. Projecting forward to Monday night's battle, rematch, really, I guess the 3rd year in a row that those teams have faced each other. The Lions stopped the run. And if Charbonnet and or Kenneth Walker III, if he's able to come back from the oblique injury, are able to get anything going in the run game, that'll just help Geno Smith and the passing game hopefully open up more space. I believe we're into the second possession here. Oh, excuse me, this is later, first possession. It's a 3rd and long, short completion to Charbonnet. I feel like he's got really good hands. When he catches the ball, not only is it a smooth catch in terms of it hitting his hands, but he's oftentimes able to catch it and then be in the midst of turning upfield to try to get yards already as the catch is occurring. Some guys catch it and kind of lose a little bit of acceleration or lose a little bit of momentum. In this case, it's a really cool design, if you ask me. You've got the tight end motioning outside, both receivers working downfield to block. There is an opportunity here for this to hit for a bigger gain if the Dolphins don't have 4 over 4. So I will rewind it one more time back to the All-22 so you can see what I'm talking about. Post-snap, the way that it works out from a motion standpoint, the tight end looping out, and you've got potential pin down blocks here, tight end looping to the outside. It's almost really like a run scheme, if you ask me, a pin pull pitch, except it's a pass play out to the edge. I'd like to see this more often. I'd like to see this more often from Baltimore and Detroit's offenses as well. But it goes down for a short gain for Charbonnet, I think 6 yards on a 3rd and 15, and they're able to convert the field goal on the ensuing play. So second possession, one of my favorite run concepts in the NFL that you see maybe once or twice a game by certain teams. Other teams use it a little bit more often. I call it down sweep. I'll let the end zone angle flow through one time so you can see it. Down sweep, you're getting down block, and then pull and kick. And then additional to that guard pulling is the center pulling and kind of leading. I call it down. It's wing T terminology, where the front side guard pulls and kicks out here. And then now the center is leading through the hole. Charbonnet, nice little job of hesitating. Really like if you know anything about the wing T, almost like a little bit of a merging, the timing of buck sweep in some ways, and then the off tackle element of down. I don't know if I explain that in a way that makes sense. If you're a wing T person or wing T aficionado, let me know what you think of that thought. But let's go back to the all-22 so you guys can see it. So it's trips to the downside, tight end to the top side. So it's an 11 personnel grouping, trips closed formation with the running back on the other side. So you've got to account for the potential for 4 down here, meaning 4 to one side from a route standpoint, a post-snap delineation. And then pulling the center and the guard back to the boundary side gets you almost like a +1, in some cases a +2. Charbonnet's got, I think, really good timing for this type of run concept, meaning he's got the ability to hesitate for a moment, let the blocks happen, and then hit it downhill. Like I said, 13 yards, let the end zone angle flow through one more time. If I ran it too many times individually, forgive me, but I wanted you to see the concept, the down blocks on the front side by the tackle and then the tight end, which I don't think I drew up a moment ago, and then be able to see the timing that Charbonnet flows with it, how it syncs up into the boundary. Boundary side run concepts, I feel like, is stealing money at times out of 11 personnel. So this is his first touchdown run, second possession. This one's going to put him up 10-0. First and goal from the 4. And you've got a somewhat similar formation, except you don't have a tight end to the backside. So you've got 2 receivers and then a tight end, so 3 to one side, and the running back on that same side into the boundary. It looks like a downhill run concept, but Charbonnet is going to take it to the left side off of a really nice block, if you ask me, by the center. Let you see the end zone angle. It goes down as a 4-yard touchdown run, his first of the day. 20 is going to come downhill, and I believe he's the guy that gets smacked. The center does a great job of coming off the combo and then getting to 20. Charbonnet cuts it outside, B-gap, outside of, I think it's Sealer, 92, who's the guy that had an interception. Charbonnet actually tackled him. Beautiful work, if you ask me, there by the center, running back away from the trip side, back away from the tight end side. Cool concept. O-line able to get it executed with no penalties in this case. So they're up 10-0. Going to move to the third possession. And this one is late first quarter. I think that you've got a chip here by Charbonnet and then a chip here by the tight end. Both of those guys then kind of release out into the flats. And I think Geno's got to get rid of this football. It's 3rd and 15, excuse me. He holds onto the ball too long, and then when he finally does try to get rid of it, he's off balance. The pass rushes onto him, and it throws it a little high. Maybe Charbonnet should catch the football. I'm not sure how you feel about it, but I think that the design of the pass pro, the chip release by the running back and by the tight end, tells me that he probably was told pre-snap, hey, if there's nothing there, those 2 guys should be wide open underneath the zone. Let's go on ahead and punt because our defense is badass. I think it was pretty obvious at this point, third possession, that Seattle's defense was in control. Feel free to let me know what you think of that thought. I obviously have no way of confirming what he was told in his headset pre-snap. Multiple penalties on the offensive line. We've moved forward here, by the way. We're into the third quarter, up 17-3 at this point. Multiple penalties on the offensive line, I believe, created a 3rd and 26 or 3rd and 25. So nice little draw play. I guess you could call it free yards for Charbonnet if you wish to be somewhat negative about it. It's 12 yards up the middle on the draw. I like his start-stop ability, and feel free to let me know what you probably know more about this as a Seahawks fan. It seems like he breaks tackles often. And last year when I saw that leading up to the Ravens game, I was concerned. I did a big preview about Kenneth Walker III and Zach Charbonnet breaking tackles so often. I was really concerned about it. Obviously, that did not occur. But based on the film that I've watched, it feels like he breaks a lot of tackles to me, and he certainly did on Sunday. Feel free to let me know as a Seahawks fan that watches more of the games. Well, more of the games live. You don't watch more film than I do at this point. Third quarter, still is 11 personnel on the 11th possession. Little check down. And again, I just feel like he catches the ball and is already prepared to or already in the midst of moving to one direction based upon where the leverage is. In this case, he's catching it. And I feel like I see a turn occurring as he's catching the football because he knows the linebacker's depth. Yeah, it's just a little innocuous check down on 1st and 10, but oh, by the way, it gets 8 yards. You can see that he's staring at the second level defender who's just outside the left hash. And when Geno throws in this football, I was luckily able to pause it at the correct time here. He's able to turn and catch it at the same time such that he can not just accelerate but break one and possibly be charged with breaking 2 tackles, because I think Holland, number 8, was the guy who got credit for the tackle. 12th possession now. I believe we are midway through the third quarter. Little short yardage situation, very weird, almost looked like a false start by the offense. Charbonnet, I think he would be a great short yardage back. I don't know that to be a fact, though. Feel free to let me know in the comment section, what the history has been. Kenneth Walker III, clearly, if he's healthy, in week 4 is going to be a big factor against the Lions, or against any team for that matter, but would be an awesome short yardage back because of his propensity to break tackles and get yards after contact. So we've now moved forward to, I think, the 12th possession. And again, you got a downhill run, breaking tackles. I'm sorry, this is still the same possession I was referring to. My apologies. A downhill run out of 11 personnel. I feel like this offensive line does a good job on these concepts. Where they're comboing up to an inside linebacker level, whether the run game is more productive out of 11 personnel or some of the other heavier personnel groupings, I'm not sure. I feel like from what I've seen, they're going to be in 11 personnel a lot. Makes sense, right? You got 3 really good to great wide receivers. 13-yard gain here, give you the same play from the end zone angle. They kick over Calais Campbell into the A-gap, so they got kind of like this snake or double A-gap defensive tackle look. Huge bubble between here. Basically, I would call it a 2-gap bubble, and that's exactly where Zach Charbonnet takes this, off a nice combo block by the right tackle. If you're unsure of what I mean by a bubble, right now before Calais Campbell kicks over, you got an A-gap bubble here, B-gap bubble here. I'm talking about not covered by a defensive lineman or outside linebacker. C-gap bubble here. Let's not call this a D-gap bubble, because the leverage of that outside linebacker is inside leverage of the receiver, I think, Chenault. But you normally want to avoid a 2-gap bubble in my experience. So normally you want to set the 3 technique there. I think it gives the tackle too easy of a release to cram down on the defensive tackle and then combo up to the second level defender. In most cases, it's an inside linebacker. Charbonnet takes advantage of that precise space for a 13-yard gain. I feel like the Dolphins made it a little too easy there. This is the drive about halfway through the fourth quarter where Charbonnet ends up accumulating 34 yards on the ground, but you've got a downhill run concept on the previous play, wide open, untouched, to the line of scrimmage, obviously. And now here we are, 12 personnel, Geno motions JSN over to the side where there's 2 tight ends, so it creates this kind of Trey wing set. The Dolphins kind of collapse everything down. See the inside leverage on all 3 of these guys. Great vision, if you ask me, by Charbonnet. And then the ability to jump cut to the outside and then bounce to the outside, break another tackle. Still not get tackled by May, number 26. I think they gave him credit for the tackle, but he certainly didn't take Charbonnet to the ground. Let me know what your awareness is or what statistics show of his break tackle rate. Look at the leverage for these blockers, sealing to the outside. The Dolphins were willing to jam up the inside, and oftentimes what teams want to do is force the boundary side corner to make tackles. In this case, this run concept ends up bouncing. Ball's in the middle of the field, so not necessarily the boundary side corner, but ends up bouncing. Really no chance. That run game, if Kenneth Walker III is there this week against the Lions, is going to be boosted a lot, if you ask me. And they have their hands full, because the Lions' run defense is, I think, one of the best in the league. So now we're getting back to the second touchdown of the game, the one that I kind of led this video off with. Goes for 10 yards. So the inside linebackers are kind of sitting and not pressing, and this little hesitation by Charbonnet allows him to then squirt back out here through the weak side B gap when the D tackle tries to shed. The D tackle, I'm talking about number 90. He'll kind of stand I think it's Bradford 75 up, kind of stands him up right here. Even though Bradford's got his hands on the inside, 90 is able to shed to the inside, and then that's exactly where Charbonnet gets out of there. Great illustration, if you ask me, of his ability to play through contact, getting through that gap between the right guard and the right tackle, number one. Number two, then regain his balance to burst through from here on out and bounce it to the outside, break another tackle, get into the end zone. Like I said, 10-yard touchdown run. Really cool to see. It's a great duo, man. I think that those two are a really talented pair of running backs. The production from Charbonnet week 1 and 2 obviously doesn't match up with that statement. Week 1, Kenneth Walker III did run for 103 or 102 yards and a touchdown. If they get those two healthy together at the same time, going to be a monster matchup against the Lions next week. Since I've watched so much film of both teams, if you're interested, I'm going to try to do multiple previews for that game because I feel like I have knowledge of both teams at this point that would provide me the opportunity to give you a somewhat educated preview. I thought Charbonnet played extremely well on Sunday. Obviously, 34 yards came on that mid-fourth quarter drive that put the game away with that touchdown we just displayed. 24-3 was the final margin. Over 100 yards of total offense, 2 touchdowns, couple of catches, even 2 tackles. Really interesting day for Zach Charbonnet. Not the type of thing that gets mentioned in fantasy points or anything, but I think that's about what the Seahawks offense needs. I don't think they need 140 on the ground from either guy. If you get 80 to 90 from one of them and 40 or 50 from the other, I'm talking about a combination of the two guys, that to me seems to be the right amount of usage for Kenneth Walker III and Zach Charbonnet, especially given that Walker will be coming back from injury either in week 4 or possibly week 5. If you guys enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section. If you don't know, comments and likes drive the engagement up. So I would ask that if you did enjoy this video and you listen this long, please consider liking and commenting to help this video get pushed out to a larger audience. And then additional to that, if you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy this film study video of Zach Charbonnet's contribution in week 3, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach. Appreciate you guys' time.